So, describe the controversy with the lack of representation for territories of the United States. Do you think statehood should be granted to Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C.? Why or not? Why not? All right, so there you go. I'll give you some time to work on that. I'll give you another minute or two to finish up, and we'll review over this. Yeah, go ahead. Are you finished up? Okay. All right, so let's go over this quick. Describe the controversy with the lack of representation for territories in the United States. So we mentioned this yesterday. Um, so for territories like Puerto Rico, okay, like Guam, American Samoa, what type of rights do they have? What kind of I guess you could say representation they have, Jeffrey?
They are allowed to vote in primaries and they are allowed to have one representative in the House of Representatives. They do not have someone in the Senate. They are not allowed to have electoral college vote. And they are granted most rights that United States citizens are, but they are not really granted the same rights as United States citizens, but they are recognized as United States citizens.
All right, good job, Jeffrey. Good work. So yeah, like we talked about yesterday, they do not have representation in the Senate, but they do have a delegate to the House of Representatives. Do they have a vote? No, they don't. But at the same time, they can communicate some of their concerns or conflicts or issues within their territory to the rest of Congress. So it's heard. Um, yeah, so we mentioned a little bit about the Electoral College. These territories do not have a vote, but they do vote in presidential primaries. So whether it's coming up to a Republican Party candidate or Democratic Party candidate, they vote in that. But when it comes to president, no. All right, good work, good work. So with DC and Puerto Rico, should they have statehood? What do we think? What do we think? Tanner, go ahead.
So with Puerto Rico, I don't think they should because the people don't want to speak on the state.
Okay, yeah, we talked about it yesterday with the referendum. Just recent poll not too long ago, Puerto Rico said, "Nah, we're fine, not being a state." Okay, what else do you have to say?
And then I think Washington D.C. is in a weird spot because it's not a state, but it has more rights and does more than a territory.
How so? How so?
It has more representation, and then it does, if I'm correct, it does count towards an electoral college.
Yeah, it does. Good job. Good job. So there's what, 3 votes, right? The electoral college is same as the smallest state. All right, good. What else were you gonna say?
Um, with Puerto Rico as well, I feel like that it's up to the people. So
All right. Yeah, good job, Tanner. Good work. Good work. Sarah, do you have your hand up?
Washington D.C. is like very close to Virginia.
Yeah.
And would there be a way to vote by that?
Oh, I like add an electoral vote
Yeah.
to Virginia. Oh, that's tough to say. I mean, if it comes down to it, it's like, oh, well, what if DC was located near another state, right? And they can add an electoral vote to them. I don't know. That'd be a difficult situation. I know the founding fathers, when they're coming up with the destination of Washington, D.C., they wanted to make sure they could stay out of that issue. It's like, well, this is where the federal government's resided. A lot of the business that occurs there is totally different than obviously when the founding fathers are coming up for that location. So their goal is to try to stay out of really the form of representation with the states, the same equality as that. So when you're looking back at, the really design of DC, that's the case. But anyway, I mean, there's still US citizens that live there, right? They should have representation. They should have a say in Congress at least. But hey, with the Electoral College, I mean, that helps with voting on the president for that matter. And when you think about it with the federal government, I mean, voting for the president, that is a responsibility, that is a right for these people, but as a state, not so much. And that's why they agreed on that idea of electoral vote going towards DC. All right, good job. Brock, what do you have for this?
Saying that they should have the same representation in the states,
Okay.
but I don't think Puerto Rico should because they don't really want to become part of the United States.
All right.
DC, decides that they need representation.
Yeah. I mean, that is true. That is true. In Congress, not so much, obviously, but I mean, at the national level, voting for president, that makes sense to me anyway. All right, good job, guys. Good job. So I'm going to come around and check your bell ringers. Make sure that I have that assignment turned in. For tomorrow, like I mentioned, you'll see the assignment. I'll patch it today. I'll sign it today. You guys work on that tomorrow. For class. Yeah, 4, right? Okay, good. Daniel. All right. And good work. Nice job. Jeffrey. Probably.
6.
Angel, you have finished? All right. Terrence? Thanks. Sarah? Okay. Madden? What was here? All right, there it is. Good. Dan? John? Brad? What's that? Yes, you can. Okay. Good job. Reb, or Lex, sorry. All right, Lex, good job, sir. Esther. Okay.
No.
All right, so I'll have that assignment turned in as soon as I can. Real quick, I want to go over the assignment from yesterday. All right, so have those out, ready to go, the territorial rights. I know I checked them already, but I want to go over this. All right, number one, list 3 arguments in favor of giving people living in an incorporated territory statehood and the rights and privileges of American citizens, and 3 arguments against granting those territory statehood and rights as American citizens. So we kind of went over this with the bell ringer. Real quick, let's go through it. Madden, what do you have for one argument for giving rights? What's that? I didn't hear you. Okay, all right, good job. And what about against? Okay, yeah, we talked about that referendum, right? And saying really how majority of the people in Puerto Rico just don't want to be a part of the state. Yeah, the United States. Good job. Okay, they still want to be a territory, but not a state. Jeffrey, go ahead.
The people of Puerto Rico are recognized as United States citizens. However, the country of Puerto Rico has not yet certified themselves as a state due to them not having enough people voting for them to be a state.
Okay, all right, good job. Tanner, you have this?
I said that
So for and against then.
Puerto Rico is bigger than 2 or 3 other states.
Yeah.
They also rely on us for economic status and all that. And then I don't think they shouldn't have to become a state if they don't want to.
Okay. All right. Good job. Good job. So yeah, I mean, we talked about that yesterday. The population of Puerto Rico is much larger than majority of the states. Well, I don't say majority, but a lot of the states in the United States. So, well, I guess we'll be majority, more than majority, 27, which is interesting to note. And it just goes to show how they help and benefit the United States economy, right? We do get resources and raw materials from Puerto Rico. Okay, many of their citizens join into the military. So yeah, all right, they should have some sort of benefit. That's a good argument for it. And then against it, the referendum gets brought up all the time. It's like, well, maybe they don't want to be a state. Maybe they're just fine being territories. All right, good job. 2, should the residents of the territories be allowed to elect the representatives in Congress who can vote on legislation? Sarah, what do you have for 2? Oh, you don't want that to happen. Go ahead.
I said yes, I do. Because they're considered the benefits of being in the United States.
Okay, all right. So you're saying that they should have a vote in Congress, should have a say in a certain and majority of the matters when it comes to the nation. All right, good. What do we have here? Who else wants to share there? Brock?
They should
Yeah, all right. So they just kind of made a point that they don't want to be a part of, well, a state. So it's like, well, should they have the same rights as states already in the union? Well, maybe not. All right, good job. All right, three. Should the territories currently controlled by the United States be given the opportunity to become their own countries? Why or why not? Go ahead, Nikki Six.
No, because we need to stop the spread of communism at all.
Holy cow! All right, geez, you're in the Cold War here yet, huh? All right, so you're saying the fear of communism, maybe that might be spread to some of these territories, the once territories, if they become their own country. And I guess we talked about with Cuba last year, right? Yeah, I mean, at one point they weren't a territory, but we had a lot of economic, I guess say resources coming from Cuba. We had a military base there, still do kind of in Cuba with Guantanamo Bay, and yeah, yeah, good job, good job. So yeah, we all know Cuba turns communist after, right around the ending of World War II, and that caused a lot of fits for the U.S., especially with what the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? Yeah, it could be a threat to the United States if that's the case. All right, Madam, what do you say for three? What did you exit out of it again? What's up with this, huh? We're focused on this assignment.
I said yes, I think they should essentially do things to America.
Okay, all right, good job. So you're saying that they have to adhere to some of the United States's rights and ideas and principles. Okay. What about you, Terrence? What do you have for three?
I said, yeah, they should be able to become their own countries if they don't want to become a state at all. They could have a choice of what they want to become.
Yeah, it's what America's all about, right? Freedom. Okay. Tanner?
I said yes and no, solely because it should be held to a vote if they want to become their own country, but at the same time, we did acquire them as a territory after the Spanish American War, and we do have rights to holding them as a territory.
Okay. All right. Good job. Good job. So way back when, right? We had this agreement on terms and they should still adhere to it. Is that what you're saying? Wow. Okay. Jamie, what about you?
I said that they should have the opportunity to become their own country if they want to, but not.
Okay. All right. Good job. Sarah, what do you have?
I said that they are being neglected by our country
Okay.
and they should
All right. Yeah. Good job. I know that's a lot of issues with Guam, especially. I know that we have military base there. A majority of the island and the land there offers them career paths, but when it comes to medical assistance and medical help, they have to travel all the way back to the U.S. mainland to receive that help. So thousands of miles. Can you imagine that? Right? If you had any type of medical issue that you had to seek medical attention, pretty much you had to go all the way back to mainland US. Yeah, they had some medical assistance there and different types of benefits on the island there, the military base, but for the most part, you're going back to the mainland. That's pretty crazy to think about. All right, four. Should the residents of Washington, D.C. become a state or have representatives in the we already talked about the bell ringer, so we're good with that. All right, so terms for today, just three of them. I'd like you to know. There we go. So we're going to talk about grants, kind of finish off this PowerPoint here. We'll talk about politics and federalism here soon. But categorical grants, block grants, and project grants. And I forgot to mention with these territories maybe potentially being added to the United States, a lot of it is political reasoning too, right? A lot of that is political reasoning. If you think about it, if we add members to Congress, let's say for the Senate for DC, well, most affiliated with the Democratic Party. If you add Puerto Rico, well, most of them would probably affiliate with the Republican Party. So would there be a balance? Yeah, probably. But when you look at the population, as for the House of Representatives, we know Puerto Rico is pretty large. So that might be a little lopsided, right, compared to what with DC. And there's always some issues with political, let's say, ideology with that when making these decisions on adding the states. And that goes in fact with Hawaii and Alaska. I kind of mentioned it already. Okay, all right. So let's talk about these grants. So with federalism, it's important that the national government helps support the states in many different ways. And there's obviously funding for that through grants. All right, so grants, real quick, categorical grants made for specific and closely defined purposes. All right, so a good example with this would be infrastructure, right? Okay, so I know that's a topic of debate today with the United States and funding a lot of money and really investing a lot of time and effort into building up the infrastructure of the U.S. So bridges, roads, maybe airports, and moving closer towards more of an environment-friendly environment with different types of charging stations for electric vehicles. That costs a lot of money, right? So it's important that the government helps support these states in establishing the appropriate infrastructure for that specific state. Okay, so again, categorical grants are specific. They're for specific reasonings. Okay, it might be something with healthcare, right? So the national government will support the state in helping with research for that said healthcare system. And if it's for, let's say, COVID-19, right, and helping with vaccinations or with support in trying to battle the efforts of COVID-19, that money and funding has to go strictly towards that need. Block grants are just loosely defined. All right, so block grants really don't have a specific, I guess you could say, a specific way of spending that money. Okay, it's not a design location where that cash is going. So a lot of times the national government would give this to a state, and the state would obviously loan that to, let's say, a school district. So with the school district, they can spend that block grant on really whatever they think they need. Okay, it's not for a specific reason. So let's say with categorical grants, it might be technology. That funding, that money has to be specifically spent on tech. But with a block grant, if this grant is given to, let's say, a school district, they can spend it on whatever they really want to try to improve the school. So whether it's improving, let's say, the classrooms, or maybe the athletic fields, or the infrastructure for, let's say, Wi-Fi or technology. So the block grants leaves it a little bit more open for, let's say, the school district to spend that money on. And again, it's just not schools or education. It could be many different things. But block grants are kind of like no strings attached. There's no specific avenue or route that this money should be spent on. With categorical grants, again, this is a specific reason, a specific route that cash, that funding has to be spent towards. All right, last one here, project grants. This is a branch of categorical grants where it has to be sort of for a specific reason. Okay, so with project grants, a lot of times they're applied to the healthcare or maybe education as well. Okay, those are just two good examples, or let's say infrastructure. But with a project grant, a good example would be, let's say with COVID-19, okay, with the vaccinations, right? That they're designed to, let's say, certain private sectors or certain states that, okay, are trying to develop, let's say, some of these vaccinations for, let's say, this pandemic. And these project grants are specific. It's about 3-5 years, okay, that these grants are given to, let's say, these industries or, hello, what's up? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. To these industries or to the states, let's say. And it's for a specific reason, maybe for research, maybe for expansion of that, okay? Or, like I mentioned, with COVID-19, that's a great example. All right, is there any questions of grants? Categorical, project, or block? We good? Arias? Okay, all right. Well, that's all I have. I'll play the news now for you. Oh, actually, real quick, I almost forgot. I need to have the assignment for you for tomorrow. Can't forget to mention that. So the assignment, I like you guys to work on tomorrow. You have all day to do it. So use your time wisely. Again, it's another group project, or if you want, you can do it on your own. But I kind of like you guys to do it in a group. So it's a grant project for Upper Dauphin Area High School. Real quick, let me go through the requirements here. All right, so your school is given a block grant of $250,000 to improve the education. It may only be a one-time grant, or it may be given over several years. So groups of 4 to 5 decide how the money might be spent and improve education at Upper Dauphin. So you're going to come up with 4 to 5 different ideas that you can maybe enhance the school. Draw up a proposal to present to the school board that includes arguments, support your proposal, include the types of visuals you might need to use to make your proposal appealing. So it might be with technology, it might be something maybe with the athletic fields, it might be something with the classrooms, who knows? But again, you need to justify your response maybe by pictures. So I would suggest taking actual pictures of maybe some of the items that we could replace or that we could try to enhance. All right, list some objections the school board might have for your proposal and come up with statements that counter their objections. So think of maybe some of the arguments that might come up about these improvements to the school or some of the issues that might arise, and obviously come up with an explanation to it. And then when you're finished with that, please answer the 2 questions. Okay. So how is giving block grants with no strings attached good for the state or local governments? 2, how might block grants with no strings attached be bad for taxpayers? Sorry, I didn't show the news. See you guys later. Have a good one. Take care.